This is a follow-up to another video where I ranted about people's insensitivity during small talk. So let me put on my dusty lecturer's hat and bastardize some theory to elaborate on it. In practice, language allows us to communicate certain meanings beyond the literal. For example, we can phrase requests indirectly. You say you're carrying a bunch of stuff with both hands and want the person standing by the door to open it for you. You can be direct and say, please open the door, or be indirect and say, my hands are full and these are quite heavy. Both may work to communicate a request, though the latter would only work if the other party processes your uptake or speaker intention correctly. Also, when we communicate, we don't just exchange information with each other, there's a social aspect to it. Whether we're conscious about it or not, we do consider our relationship with the other party. That influences how we choose our messages, structure them, and say them. To help foster and maintain good social relationships, we apply politeness in our language. In language studies, politeness theory, proposed by Penelope Brown and Stephen Levinson, examines this phenomenon. Central to this theory is the concept of face, which comes from the work of Goffman. Face, in this context, is something very close to our concept of hiya in Filipino. You can lose face or save face. There are two forms of face. There's positive face, which is the need to be appreciated, and this is fostered in acts like giving compliments. There's also negative face, which is the need not to be disturbed. This is fostered by avoiding to breach another person's space or domain, or by respecting a person's freedom to act. According to politeness theory, we can affect another person's face by committing face-threatening acts, or FTAs. Since we basically do things with words, a single utterance contains at least one FTA. FTAs can come in varying intensities. Brown and Levinson even offers a nifty formula to gauge the weight of an FTA, where the weight of the FTA is equal to the rate of imposition plus social distance plus power. They didn't exactly give ways to measure each numerically, but you can sort of gauge each element intuitively. That is, if you're an actual human being capable of empathy. For example, asking a person to loan you 100,000 pesos would have a greater rate of imposition than, say, asking 100 pesos. There's a larger social distance between you and a mere acquaintance compared to you and your best friend. There's a greater power difference between a boss and an employee compared to a couple of classmates. So, asking 100,000 pesos from your boss on a whim should entail a more damaging FTA compared to asking 100 pesos from your best friend. Politeness supposedly mitigates the impact of FTAs. Now, as such, politeness can be used if you want to foster good relationships with people around you. After assessing the weight of an FTA and understanding the risk that it poses on your relationship with another party, you can choose to apply different politeness strategies to minimize the damage that can be caused by the FTA. Let's take the scenario of asking 100 pesos from your best bud. You can be on record or be direct in your language. You can do this without redressive action, boldly by saying, pautang nga ng 100. You can also apply some redressive action to appeal to a person's positive or negative face. With positive politeness, you try to insert some compliments to affect positive face, like, Uy, pogi, pautang naman ng 100. With negative politeness, you avoid sounding imposing and say, pasensya na, matanong ko lang, pwede bang pautang ng 100? You can also be off-record or be indirect with your language and hope that the other party gets the uptake and react accordingly. At least going off-record sort of minimizes imposition. For example, naku, wala na akong pamasahe at pangkain mamaya. Or if the weight is just too great, then don't do the FTA. The theory actually goes at length to discuss many nuances depending on the context of the situation. Calling or implying the other person is fat, and raising emotionally charged topics are all FTAs, since disrupting a person's emotional well-being is considered to damage a person's positive face. What appears to be key here is empathy, more than linguistic competence. You have to have the capacity to relate and anticipate the other party's emotional or mental state to be polite effectively. I've included a list of works in the video description should you be interested in reading more on the topic. But I think the gist of all of this is that if you have an emotional quotient of a rock and can't judge the weight of the FTAs, then the best strategy for you to apply is to just shut the fuck